Hey my fellow gamers, how's it going? Nexius here. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. So, have you ever wondered what happened to the Diablo 1 characters? The warrior, the rogue, and the sorcerer are the three playable characters that we have in that game. Now, all three of them are answered with their fates in Diablo 2. So I kind of wondered also with this, what happened to the Diablo 2 heroes? Because we do find out some results with, say, the Amazon, the sorceress, for example, the necromancer, but it got me thinking. How many of you guys actually know or remember what happened to Diablo 1's characters? We'll answer Diablo 2 heroes another day, but today I want to focus on Diablo 1. So we're going to start with the warrior first, because he is technically the main character of Diablo 1, not only based off his backstory, but also because he's in the ending cinematic. So the warrior's name, we find out, is Aiden, who was the oldest son of King Leoric, who is also known as the Skeleton King in Tristram of Diablo 1. After defeating Diablo beneath Tristram's cathedral with the rogue and sorcerer accompanying him, the warrior Aiden takes Diablo's soulstone in the cinematic and plunges it into his forehead. I don't know what he was thinking here. I don't know if he knew what the soulstone was, how it worked, what it did, but we just see in the cinematic he takes it and plunges it into him. I don't know if he knew what he was doing, but, well, hopefully it works out. Well, in Diablo 2, we find out through Deckard Cain that after Diablo's defeat, the warrior hung around Tristram for a while. He got more agitated, he started secluding himself from society, and basically just hid himself away. He was screaming at night, having nightmares, and then eventually he just randomly gets up and leaves Tristram. Coincidentally, shortly after leaving Tristram, a bunch of demons and undead start attacking Tristram. So it's pretty safe to say the warrior did something. Deckard Cain wasn't 100% sure until later into Diablo 2. We all find out that, well, technically us, the players, already knew, but in terms of the universe, Deckard Cain and them did not know until later that the warrior took the soulstone, plunged it into himself, and he had a mental struggling battle against Diablo's presence, and Diablo took over his body, using it as a vessel for himself. So when the warrior loses his mental battle, he becomes what we know him in Diablo 2 as the Dark Wanderer. He leaves Tristram, travels east to try and free his brothers Mephisto and Baal. So now Aiden is Diablo, and that's what happens to him. We end up killing Diablo in Act 4 in the Chaos Sanctuary, which is obviously where Aiden's body is, because Diablo is using his body as a vessel. So we actually kill the Diablo warrior character in Act 4 of Chaos Sanctuary, and that is the fate of the warrior Aiden. For the rogue that accompanied Aiden and the sorcerer down into Tristram to defeat Diablo for the first time in the Diablo franchise, the rogue's name is Morena, who was a member of the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye. If you're not familiar with them, they are basically a group of rogues and blacksmiths, as we know from Act 1. The monastery, the Heroic Malice quest, we have Akara who's leading them, at least with the encampment. So we find out that through Cassia on quest 2 of Act 1, that the rogue was actually Bloodraven. So the rogue's name was Morena. She was a member of the Sightless Eye. The Sightless Eye sent her to Tristram to aid against Diablo, and when Diablo was defeated, she returned to her order with what Akara calls a darkened spirit. She could sense the darkened spirit within her, but she wasn't sure what it was and didn't really think anything more of it. Of course, when Aiden lost his control and became the Dark Wanderer, that's when Andariel showed up to help Diablo, because obviously Aiden was now the Dark Wanderer, who was Diablo. So Andariel shows up, attacks the rogue monastery, where Morena would fall into league with her. So Andariel was charming most of the rogues. For example, we see a lot of them when we're running through Act 1 as early as Cold Plains. At some point, she became undead, established herself in the monastery graveyard, known as Burial Grounds, raising deceased rogues as zombies. Morena's cruel fate had branded her known as Bloodraven amongst any of the surviving Sisterhood. And finally, that leaves the Sorcerer. So the Sorcerer is pretty interesting, actually. He's my favorite character in the game, and on top of that, I like his backstory. So the Sorcerer's name is Jazreth, who was a powerful member of the Vajeri Mage Clan. The Mage Clans obviously had a lot of turmoil, a lot of different wars with each other, many Mage Clans. But during all this, anyway, the Sorcerer goes to the Tristram as requested. I don't know if there was a specific reason. Maybe they felt some kind of aura around Tristram. Maybe they knew what was going on with undead. Who knows? They sensed something, so they sent Jazreth to investigate. He ends up partying with the rogue and the warrior, and eventually the trio would defeat Diablo, as we know, in the sanctuary beneath the cathedral in Tristram. So, scarred with his experiences fighting Diablo, just like the rogue, he leaves Tristram right away, except instead of returning to his clan, he decides to travel to Lugalane. So, as I mentioned, the warrior, he stays in Tristram, eventually corrupts against Diablo, loses his mental battle, becomes Diablo, heads east. The rogue, she went back to her order of the Sister of the Sightless Eye, and then she gets killed by Andariel. But the mage, he actually ends up technically fine, I guess you could say it. I mean, he kind of went insane, but he was technically fine after leaving Tristram. So what happens is, Jazreth, the sorcerer character, leaves Tristram to go right to Lugalane, and he wants to find the legendary mystical arcane sanctuary created by the great mage Horizon. So it sounds like he just went back to his research and he just wanted to discover more mage stuff. Things that mages typically do, I guess. So anyway, when he gets to Lugalane, he apparently met Drognin, an old comrade of his, and told him about his fight against Diablo. We later discovered that by entering the Arcane Sanctuary, he actually let loose scores of demons and would be driven mad by the demonic magics he attempted to master. So in Act 2, with our playable character, whether it's the Assassin, the Amazon, whatever you chose, you go into the Arcane Sanctuary, you talk to Drognin in Lugalane, you find out some backstory about who this guy was, and we find out it's actually the sorcerer Jazreth. And unfortunately, he goes insane trying to control the Arcane Sanctuary, trying to control all of the demons and the different magics that come with it. Jazreth, the Diablo 1 sorcerer, unfortunately was driven mad, and we have to later put him down to rest by our Diablo 2 characters in the Arcane Sanctuary. So at this point, he was known as the Summoner. I guess he went insane. He truly thought he was Horizon himself. I don't know what happened to Jazreth. We don't know what specifically occurred down in Arcane Sanctuary to make him upset and insane. We just know that he went to Lugalane after Tristram. He's looking for the Arcane Sanctuary of Horizon. He goes down, and next thing you know it, he's insane after practicing demonic magics. So that is the fate of the 3 Diablo 1 characters we get to play. Bloodraven is basically the rogue, Diablo in Diablo 2 is the warrior Aiden, and the summoner in Act 2 is also the sorcerer. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick video talking about the fates of Diablo 1 characters. Sometimes we don't know how obvious it is. Sometimes it's always interesting, especially with Diablo 2's characters. I want to do that one at some point, but a lot of them are kind of unanswered. We know some fates of, say, the Amazon, the sorceress, and the necromancer, but other than that, it's kind of difficult to find out. So that might be a future video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one so much. Thank you as always for watching, my friends, and I'll see you next time.
As you know, some time ago Diablo was slain beneath Tristram, and when our hero emerged triumphant from the labyrinth beneath town, we held a grand celebration that lasted several days. Yet, as the weeks passed, our hero became increasingly aloof. He kept his distance from the rest of the townsfolk and seemed to lapse into a dark, brooding depression. I thought that perhaps his ordeal had been so disturbing that he simply could not put it out of his mind. The hero seemed more tormented every passing day. I remember he awoke many times, screaming in the night, always something about the East. One day he simply left, and shortly thereafter Tristram was attacked by legions of foul demons. Many were slain, and the demons left me to die in that cursed cage. I believe now that Tristram's hero was that dark wanderer who passed this way before the monastery fell. I fear even worse, my friend. I fear that Diablo has taken possession of the hero who sought to slay him. If true, Diablo will become more powerful than ever before. You must stop him, or all will be lost.
My rogue scouts have just reported an abomination in the monastery graveyard. Apparently, Andariel is not content to take only our living. Bloodraven, one of our finest captains in the battle against Diablo at Tristram, was also one of the first to be corrupted by Andariel. Now you'll find her in the monastery graveyard, raising our dead as zombies. We cannot abide this defilement. If you are truly our ally, you will help us destroy her.
Bloodraven fought valiantly against Diablo in the catacombs beneath Tristram. But she was never quite the same afterwards. It is now obvious that she brought an evil influence back with her.
Nearly 1,000 years ago, Horizon rose to the fore of the Viserai mage clan. Horizon used the knowledge of the Viserai to summon and control demons from hell. Though a powerful summoner, Horizon feared that the lords of hell would punish him for enslaving their brethren. Thus, the summoner created for himself an arcane sanctuary. He believed that his sanctuary would not only protect him from hell's vengeance, but also allow him to continue his studies free from the ravages of time and disease. Horizon had crafted many wondrous scrying devices through which he observed the events of the world outside. It is certain that he took careful study of Tal Rasha's imprisonment and recorded the location of his forgotten tomb. The arcane sanctuary was believed to have been constructed here, in Lut Gholein. An entrance may be hidden somewhere in the palace, as that building is very old and was once a Viserai fortress.
There was an Eastern mage, a Viserai, I believe, who visited me almost a year ago. He was very interested in the history of this site, and he seemed particularly fascinated with the palace architecture. I gave him a tour. When he found the ancient seals over a passageway in the cellar, he became very agitated. He asked for some time alone to study them, and I granted it. Shortly after, he left with no further word, and I never saw him again. Odd, don't you think?
I hope that this false summoner found peace in death. Unfortunately, it is more likely that he will be dragged down into hell by the demons he was bound to. Let this be a lesson to you. Demonic magic is a quick path, but its powers are seductive and deadly.
Good day. Horizon's urinal. Journal. Yes, well, glad you found it. Such a shame about those poor harem girls, huh?